Imagine a world before fences, before roads, a vast sea of grass stretching endlessly beneath a boundless sky, where the horizon seems to go on forever, and the wind carries only the sound of distant thunder and the rustle of tall grass. This was the Great Plains, a land both harsh and full of promise, where survival demanded resilience and opportunity awaited those bold enough to seize it. For the Comanche, it became the heart of an empire, a place where their destiny would be forged in the saddle. You hear a distant rumble. Thunder? No, it's a line of riders cresting a hill, moving as one with their horses, their silhouettes sharp against the breaking dawn, a living force of nature. The Comanche, bodies painted, hair braided with feathers, faces set with fierce resolve, eyes scanning the horizon for friend or foe. Armed with lances, bows and shields, they are not just hunters, they are warriors, lords of the plains, feared and respected by all who cross their path. Their cavalry could strike with lightning speed and vanish just as quickly, shaping the fate of Texas, Mexico, and the United States, leaving their enemies bewildered and wary. Masters of mounted warfare, they could fire arrows while hanging off a galloping horse, using the animal as a shield, their skill unmatched on the open plains. They rode for days, living off the land, their movements following the bison and their enemies, their lives woven into the rhythm of the seasons and the migrations of the herds. Their territory, Comancheria, spanned Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Kansas, and Colorado, a domain entered at your own peril, a land fiercely defended and fiercely loved. They were a barrier to expansion, an empire built not on stone but on motion, grass, sky, bison, and above all the horse, whose hooves thundered across the plains and whose spirit defined a people. The Comanche story is one of transformation, from mountain foragers to the most feared warriors in North America, adapting with breathtaking speed to the horse and the new world it opened. It's a tale of adaptation, conquest and loss, written in hoofprints and blood across the plains, a saga of survival and dominance that echoes through history. To understand the American West, you must first understand the Comanche, for their influence shaped the land and the people who came after. Their legacy is not just history. It's the foundation of the West itself, a living memory in the land and in the stories that endure. The Comanche ruled a world that has been too often forgotten, their power and presence fading into the grass and wind, yet never truly lost. To know the West, you must know the Comanche, the riders who shaped an empire on horseback and whose spirit still rides the endless plains. The usual story of the American West is one of inevitable expansion, a tale where the frontier steadily moves forward, swallowing everything in its path. In this version, native tribes are often portrayed as passive victims, swept aside by the march of progress. But this is a myth, a simplification that erases the true complexity of history. For nearly 2 centuries, the Comanche were the dominant power in the Southwest. They halted Spanish expansion, forcing European empires to rethink their strategies. They turned New Spain's northern provinces into their own raiding grounds, extracting resources and asserting control. The Comanche pushed rivals like the Apache deep into the desert, reshaping the region's balance of power. Their empire was built on raiding, swift, strategic, and relentless. But it was also built on trading and tribute, forging alliances and demanding respect from neighbors and enemies alike. The Comanche drew wealth from all directions, connecting distant peoples through networks of exchange. Their power destabilized Texas, paving the way for American colonization and ultimately the Texas Revolution. For decades, they were the main obstacle to U.S. westward expansion, an army the U.S. could not defeat in open battle, forcing new tactics and policies. Their story reveals a complex world where native power shaped history, not just endured it, where indigenous agency changed the fate of nations. The Comanche were not a footnote in history, they were the main event, central to the story of the continent. Ignoring their story is ignoring the true history of the American continent and missing the forces that shaped its destiny. To truly understand America, you must understand the Comanche, their power, their influence, and their enduring legacy. The Comanche began as Shoshone hunter-gatherers in the mountains of Wyoming and Idaho. Life was hard, and the plains to the east were foreign and dangerous. In the late 1600s, some Shoshone drifted south and east, drawn by the promise of bison herds. The plains offered abundance, but also new challenges and powerful rivals like the Apache. These migrants were on the edge of survival, struggling to find their place. Everything changed when they encountered the horse, released onto the plains after the Pueblo Revolt. For the Comanche, the horse was a revelation, unlocking the full potential of the plains. It gave them speed, power, and reach beyond imagination. The horse would transform them from foragers into an imperial power. This was the beginning of the Comanche Empire. The horse sparked a revolution among the Comanche. They became the world's finest horsemen. Children learned to ride before they could walk. Mounted, they hunted bison with breathtaking efficiency, creating a surplus of food and resources. The bison became their commissary, the horse, their tool of power. With stability came growth, more people, more warriors, more raids. Horses became currency and status. The Comanche were expert breeders and legendary horse thieves. They raided deep into Spanish territory, controlling a vast trading network. Their homes, tipis, were mobile, their society decentralized but capable of uniting for war. They were no longer Shoshone, they were Numunu, the people. The plains were now their undisputed home. Their culture was built for motion, for war, for survival. The Comanche had become a new people, perfectly adapted to their world. The age of the horse empire had begun. By the mid-1700s, the Comanche had driven out the Apache and ruled Comancheria, a vast, shifting empire of influence. No Spanish, Mexican, French, or American force could challenge their supremacy for over a century. Their relationship with settlers was predatory. Trade was possible, but raids were constant and devastating. War parties swept down on settlements seeking horses, cattle, guns, and captives. Not land, but wealth. The Spanish and Mexicans were powerless, their forts isolated in a Comanche sea. The Comanche were also shrewd diplomats, forming alliances and playing European powers against each other. Their decentralized structure made them unpredictable and resilient. Great leaders emerged, commanding loyalty and organizing massive raids. Their power peaked, a time of prosperity built on horses, bison, and war. The Comanche were the undisputed lords of the plains. Their dominance shaped the fate of the Southwest. The Comanche Empire was built on human lives, triumph and tragedy intertwined. Every victory, every expansion came at a price paid in blood, loss, and transformation. The vast plains, once home to countless tribes and settlers, became a stage for stories of both hope and heartbreak. Cynthia Ann Parker's story is emblematic. Captured as a child during a raid, she was adopted into the Comanche, growing up to become fully Comanche herself. She married a respected chief, Pita Nocona, and raised a family, embracing a new identity and way of life. After 24 years, she was rescued by Texas Rangers. Torn from her Comanche life, she never readjusted, mourning her lost family and the world she had come to love. Her sorrow became a symbol of the deep wounds inflicted by cultural conflict. Her son, Quanah Parker, became a legendary war chief, leading resistance against the U.S. and later guiding his people through reservation life. He was both a fierce warrior and a wise negotiator, respected by both his people and outsiders. Quanah fought at Adobe Walls, but when defeat was certain, he surrendered to save his people from starvation. His decision marked the end of an era but also the beginning of a new chapter for the Comanche. He became a bridge between worlds, leading the Comanche into a new era. Quanah learned to navigate both Comanche traditions and the demands of the American government, ensuring his people's survival. The frontier was a place of blurred identities where captives could become leaders and families were torn apart. Lives were forever changed, and the lines between friend and foe, kin and stranger were often indistinct. The cost of empire was measured in loss as much as in power. Every abandoned camp and broken wagon told a story of dreams shattered and lives uprooted. The Comanche story is one of survival, adaptation, and heartbreaking change. Generations endured forced assimilation, yet held onto their heritage with quiet strength. Their leaders embodied both the old world and the new, carrying the weight of history while forging a path forward for their people. The human stories reveal the true depth of the Comanche legacy. Their resilience endures, echoing through generations, a testament to the enduring spirit of a people who refuse to be forgotten. The Comanche Empire thrived on more than war. It was built on horses, trade, and a dynamic society. Horses were wealth. The Comanche were the continent's greatest horse traders, funneling animals north and trading for guns and goods. Women were the backbone, processing bison, owning property, and contributing to family wealth. Society was fluid. Captives from many cultures were adopted, bringing new skills and languages. The Comanche language itself reflects this blending. A captive could rise to respect and influence through skill and bravery. Their raiding economy was organized and strategic, not random violence. They raided, then traded captives and horses back to those they'd raided, creating a circular economy. This system stunted Spanish development for over a century. The Comanche were not just warriors, they were economic powerhouses. Their empire was built on adaptability and shrewdness. For nearly 2 centuries, the Comanche seemed invincible. But after the Civil War, new forces brought their empire down. Buffalo hunters, armed with powerful rifles, slaughtered the bison by the millions, destroying the Comanche's food, shelter, and spiritual center. As the bison vanished, starvation set in. The U.S. Army, now focused on the plains, waged relentless war, attacking villages, food stores, and horse herds. Campaigns like the Red River War left the Comanche with nowhere to hide. In 1875, Quanah Parker led the last free band to surrender at Fort Sill. Treaties were broken. The Comanche were forced onto poor land, their children sent to boarding schools. The lords of the plains were confined, their way of life destroyed. It was the end of a world. The end of the Comanche Empire was not the end of the Comanche people. Reservation life brought hardship and loss, but their spirit endured. Leaders like Quanah Parker helped their people adapt, balancing tradition and change. The Comanche language and identity survived, passed down through generations. Today, the Comanche Nation is vibrant, running businesses, preserving culture, and educating the young. Powwows echo the thunder of bison hooves. Their history is taught with pride. The empire is gone, but the nation remains. The Comanche story is a lesson in power, adaptation, and survival. It challenges us to see the West as a place of competing empires, not empty land. The legacy of the Comanche endures on the winds of the plains, a testament to a people who refuse to vanish.